It is 5 o'clock and we're moving on to a second meeting today dealing with the 2024 fees and charges. So I'll call the meeting to order and ask you to just join me for a moment of silent reflection before we begin. Thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Looking around the horseshoe, I see none, but if it occurs to you, you can bring it forward at that time. And I need a motion to move into committee of the whole. Moved by Deputy Mayor Keaveney, seconded by Councillor Uhrig. So now we are in committee of the whole, beginning at 5:01. And this is a public meeting, so it is a little more informal. I have one deputation on the list here, but other people who wish to speak during the meeting may do so. You don't need to have registered to do that. I'm going to call Bruce Ross, treasurer of the Meaford Pickleball Club, to the microphone, and just go right ahead, sir.
Great, thank you. Your Worship, Mayor Kentner, and members of council, my name is Bruce Ross and I reside in Meaford, and I'm the treasurer of the Meaford Pickleball Club. My presentation focuses on the proposed 2024 user fee of $30 per hour for the Meaford Pickleball Club, found on page 54 of 57 of the 2024 fees and charges bylaw. The financial impact of the proposed 2024 rate represents an increase of 270% over 2023. Currently, we pay $60 per day, representing a weekly cost of $420. Under the proposed hourly rate of $30, our weekly cost would be $1,140, an increase of $720 a week, or 270%. On an annual basis, this would translate into an increase from $22,000 to $59,000. This increase would severely impair the goal of the Meaford Pickleball Club's ability to cost-effectively provide the community with the well-being initiatives outlined in the municipality of Meaford's council priorities for 2023 to 2026. Our membership for the club currently has 250 members between the ages of 22 and 88, plus 20 on the wait list. The average age of our members is in excess of 65. We are concerned with the ability of our fixed income senior members to pay any excessive increased rate that would cause them to reduce their playing time and ultimately minimize their well-being opportunities. So what are these opportunities? The club provides 19 2-hour sessions for a total of 38 hours per week on 2 courts at the community center and 1 2-hour session at the Grey Bruce District School that has 4 courts. The club has had 5 learn to play sessions last month and has a skills development session scheduled for this month. As far as youth pickleball is concerned, the pickleball club conducts a summer camp for ages 9 to 13 for 1 week in the summer with a certified instructor. Subsequent to the camp, the club offers a 6-week pickleball league. The youth pickleball ticks a box off council's well-being initiative. Regarding tournaments, in May 2023, the club hosted the first annual club tournament with 64 members participating. The club also provided volunteers and equipment to the first annual municipal tournament held in August. The tournament attracted many out-of-town competitors, and we received many positive comments from these participants. As far as local volunteerism is concerned, the Meaford Pickleball Club solicits its members to volunteer for municipal events. We have had or currently have our members volunteering for the following: the Scarecrow Invasion and Float in the Parade, Christmas on the Bay, Float in the Santa Claus Parade, breakfast program at Grey Bruce District School, and an executive member for Christmas on the Bay as a Meaford pickleball member. Over 50 volunteer hours are required to provide pickleball for our community. It would cost the municipality thousands of dollars to provide the program for residents for this fastest growing sport in Canada. Regarding the Meaford Wellbeing Plan, the Pickleball Club checks the following boxes in the community wellbeing initiatives established by Council: foundations of well-being, mental health, support and programs for youth, support and programs for seniors. As previously mentioned, the average age of our membership is more than 65 years old. Hence, the majority of our members are on fixed incomes. The proposed 270% increase in the rental fees would have to be passed on to our members. With the recent increase in the cost of groceries and other items, a significant increase in the fees may preclude many from affording pickleball. This would severely impact our goal of continuing to provide our municipality with a way to stay physically active year-round in a welcoming, inclusive social setting, increasing both the physical and mental well-being of our residents. Regarding future budgets, hopefully Council views pickleball as a valuable asset in enhancing the well-being in our community. The Meaford Pickleball Club would like to initiate a collaborative, consultative approach in developing future pickleball user fee budgets with staff. The approach would allow both parties to express their concerns and arrive at a mutually beneficial user fee that maximizes the goals for both the municipality and the club. The objective of this approach would allow both agencies to set a reasonable, responsible budget and preclude the current situation where the club was not advised of the proposed user fee increase of 270%. So with that, the recommendation is the executive of the Meaford Pickleball Club that's been consulted, and we are suggesting an increase to between $65 and $75 per day from the current rate of $60 per day. This would represent a more manageable increase of between 8.3% and 25%, not the 270%. Respectfully submitted, Bruce Ross, Treasurer, Meaford Pickleball Club. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. What page did you say this increase is on?
I believe it's on page 54.
Yes.
It's pretty close to the last page.
I think I'm seeing it. No, I don't follow this. I'm going to ask our acting CAO to respond, if you would, Matt.
Sure. As with all the fees, council can choose to do whatever they would like to do. I think when fees are put together, we look at the cost of having the buildings open, and whenever anybody is in the building, we have to have a staff member there, and the cost of that is at least $30 an hour when we take everything into account. So that's why that fee's there. The other thing that I'm not sure about, because I just don't know the answer to, is that there isn't a $60 fee in the last year's fee bylaw, so I don't know quite where that's come from. So it wouldn't have seemed to me like it was that big of an increase, because I didn't know that was what was being paid.
Speak to this if you like, there.
Thanks very much, Your Worship, and I'm happy to begin this conversation. And I think that's where the confusion arose, because I'm glad that the Pickleball Club picked up on this, because it's not listed here because Mr. Smith wasn't aware of it, the $60 per day fee. So that was a good catch on behalf of the club. So now that we're all aware of that, I think we as council, I'm going to suggest, should agree to a reasonable increase. And I appreciate you've suggested 65 to 75. And I personally think $75 a day, because I know sometimes you use the facility, for a full day. $75 is a fairly reasonable rate. So I'd like to suggest to council, and Mr. Smith will advise if he'd like that as an emotion or as an amendment, that council consider $75 a day.
As this is a public meeting, we won't do motions today, but we'll do those when the bylaw comes forward to a full council meeting in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak? Okay.
I'm Cindy Slee. I'm also part of the pickleball club. And thank you, Your Worship and Council, for letting me speak on this. I just wanted to mention a couple things. First of all, yes, we do play, and there is always a staff member there anyway when we play. So we're not necessarily a staff member has to come in just for us. Also, there are other clubs that use the community center. There is one club that's there Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 8 to 10, a walking club, and they have no fee at all. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone around the table have some questions or some points to make about the fees and charges changes? Councillor Bartley.
Thank you, Mayor Kettner. Just on page 10 of the fees and bylaws, we're removing commercial leaf and yard waste disposal fee. Why would we do that?
I'm going to look to my colleague to my left.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we haven't been charging it. So since COVID, we haven't been charging a rate for that use, and we decided that we shouldn't be showing it if we're not asking for it.
That, well, we're about to pay. No, I have no issues with the answer. I just didn't know why you'd just all of a sudden quit doing it.
Deputy Mayor Keaveney.
Thanks, Your Worship. I wanted to speak to Schedule C Planning Services, page 1 of 7. Just a curiosity, I see we're dropping some fees by half. So I just wonder, have we been too high, or has this put us more in line with our neighboring municipalities? Just curious to see what's going on.
Through your worship, short answer is no, we're not doing it in comparison to anyone else. We're doing it as we've always been, looking at our workload and what it takes to get done here. The what we have now, and this is more for the audience than council, the reminder that you had just recently passed our development standards, and we now have an external or an agreement with review for all things associated with operations and public works from a development side being done by an external review with Ainley. That allows us to really speed up the process. And again, the costs associated with the fees was always how long does it take us from a staff perspective to get this done? We have that resource now, and that way we can speed it up and reduce it accordingly. There's also, along the same line, council may note, and for the folks following at home, that on the planning services fees, there's a starting on page 13, there's discussion there and changes about how we calculate some of these things. And what we've done because of the official plan update that in certain areas raised our density minimums and that, and the scale of the kinds of projects we're seeing, we have kind of eliminated the medium-sized things, but increased the threshold to go from small to large. So essentially, we will review a much larger project with the small scale fee. Again, because it's in line with what we're seeing come to us and the amount of work involved.
Councillor Bartley.
Thank you, Mayor Kender. So that explains why on page 11, we're removing the mid-scale thing. There's going to be a small scale and a large scale, nothing in between.
Through your worship, yes.
Thank you.
And the small scale got much bigger. And the other question you didn't ask, but might as well throw that in there because it is associated with this in terms of cost savings to applicants. We have gotten rid of all the deposits that would be required typically, because that not only is a nightmare for us to track, but as you can imagine, for an applicant, we spend a lot of time going back and forth reminding them to top up the fees and that, when in fact there's no need to do that. We have other mechanisms if someone doesn't pay than trying to run them through this kind of forced accounting nightmare.
Councillor Urick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's ghosts or something happening around here. I am sitting beside a pirate, so anything could happen. Page 41, I have a couple of questions on Meaford Hall. Third line, there's no increase to the actual Opera House bookings of 5 or 10. Well, I have no problem with the changes to 5 from 4 to 5 and 8 to 10 hours. I'm curious what the second performance fee is.
My understanding is that that will be when the same organization is running a show at 3 o'clock and at 7 o'clock, but therefore needs somebody in for longer. So rather than, if it's or potentially even it could be for a second day for it, because the tech needs in particular will be less the second day, because you've got to do less preparation and so on.
Okay, that would be good. And I think we should define that, because when I just read that to your first scenario, if they're already booking for 10 hours, why would I pay an extra $800 when I've already paid for the day? But if it's a second performance next day at a reduced rate, that would be brilliant. I have no problem with that.
We'll look into that and make sure.
Okay. The next line is the Opera House additional technicians per technician went from 300 to 350. And again, there's a number of things in these service fees that some of the increases are significant when you're talking about, as with the pickleball, when you're talking about a 25% increase, that's fairly significant. So I'm just wondering whether some of these increases are based on deemed inadequate previously, or why would you go up 25% in cost?
So I think there's probably two reasons for that one. One is that it's moving from an 8 to a 10-hour shift, and I know that we've also done that above. But when we talk about additional technicians, we're having to bring in people externally, oftentimes on contracted wages rather than on sort of our standard salaries, and the costs of that are also going up. So I think just moving from 300 to 350 covers off both the fact that it's a longer shift and the fact that hourly costs are increasing.
Okay. The audio and video professional recording stayed the same, and then there was an archival only that was new for 150. Who's so if it's for archival only, who's doing it, and why are we charging 150 for it?
I don't have an answer to that one, but I will look into it.
Please, thank you. And I'm gonna give somebody else a chance to speak in a minute. My last comment was there was on page 43 a piano rental for $200, which didn't exist previously. I know that the Meaford Culture Foundation donated that piano specifically as a community benefit. Now, I don't know how often it needs to be tuned. I'm presuming not every time, and I don't know how many times it's actually used, but it just seems to me that $200 per time when somebody's already paying $1,900 for the space, and then they got to pay $200 to get the piano, which they didn't pay for, then I'm wondering what warrants that cost. I could understand a lower rate if it involves tuning a number of times, but the piano's being tuned that often, there's a problem. Every show it's tuned?
Yeah.
Sorry. That's on. Okay. And how much is the piano tuning cost?
About $160.
Pretty close to 200, I suspect.
I'm-
That's what it's listed as.
I'm the guy that signs the checks, I know.
All right. Can we look in? Is somebody testing the pianos even needs to be tuned, or we're just doing it by rote?
Oh, I think it's part of the contract in most cases that the piano is freshly tuned.
Okay.
I'm not an expert on that, but sure, please do. That's great. We need to get your mic on though. Can we have your mic turned on?
Hi, yes, because every time the weather changes, every time the humidity goes up and down, you turn the furnace on, anything like that is going to affect the tuning. And so if you're bringing in, professional musicians to perform with an untuned piano, there would be, rebellion. Okay.
And it seems to me it's the same party that does it all the time, and he always notes that this is a special rate for Meaford Hall, and that's, I think, because he does all of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think his rate is probably about $200. So I think we're paying 160. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Worship. I wanted to inquire about Schedule H, our fire fees. I noticed the facility rental has taken quite a jump, and I'm just curious to know because I don't think we really get much revenue out of that now, and it seems like going from 200 to 500 and 500 to 1,500 and 800 to 2,000, we're not likely to rent it at all. And I just wondered the reasoning behind such a significant increase in the fees.
So you're right in the sense that we really don't rent it particularly. Grey County Fire Departments already get free use for that, and realistically, those are the only people that we would regularly be renting to. And I can't really think of another reason why we would. Fees going up, same with many other things. These fees were just sort of almost an administrative fee, or to sort of have something on the books. We have to have at least one, if not two, of our firefighters present if anybody else is using the building, and so we have to pay their wages as hourly on-call staff, which isn't a cheap thing to do. And also, just if you're using the fire training center and the grounds, then you're likely sort of using the equipment, or at least some of our facility, and therefore we have to do some maintenance on them and things like that. But the income from this is very, very minor.
Councillor Greenfield?
Thank you, Your Worship. On page 34 of 55, something that's near and dear to me. Refreshment vehicle class A, the fee is jumping from $300 to $500. I guess my first question is, what is a class A refreshment vehicle? Is that a hot dog vendor, or?
I feel like I'm on one of those TV shows where you've got to have an answer to everything immediately. A refreshment vehicle class A, from memory, is a motorized vehicle with cooking equipment. And the reason that I believe Holly has suggested it goes up to 500 is that it used to be 500, and I think it got put down to 300 by mistake. Got mixed up with the renewal fee. All of the other standard license fees, except for the Class V, which is a pedal bike, are all $500. So just making it consistent.
Councillor Bell?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to talk about page 32, animal control. So it says during regular hours, and there's an occurrence where someone's dog, they've read the tag, and the owner comes and to pick them up and take your pooch home, it's free. The next line says an occurrence delivered the same day during the hour, but it's the second occurrence. And there's a fee for $250. The line after that is it's a boarding fee of $250. I would like to have some conversation about first time offense putting on a fee. And I'm just going to suggest, I'd like to have staff come back with thoughts on this. The officers are involved in the first place, looking after someone's dog that's on the loose during their regular working hours. And I would propose a $60 fee because your pooch has got loose on you and it's running around. The second occurrence during the same day, I would like to see that reduced from 250. And I'm just going to pick the number of $125 because you're not really boarding the dog for that kind of money, but your officers are involved with looking after the dog. And the owner is coming during regular office hours. And so I would like to entertain looking at a couple of different numbers on dogs. Now, the ones about after hours and they're going off to the pound and all of that things for boarding, I agree. The owner is going to have to travel some distance, but I would like to just, I'd like to look at those two things, that really the officers involved and then the officers involved again. And I take it it's referring to the very same dog because they're reading the tag. So, thank you.
I think I can probably answer that one probably quicker than Rob can. So I think the reason why we've done it for free for the first offence is because it's actually often an opportunity to encourage people to get their license sorted, and we can also issue a ticket for that if we decide we need to for losing control of your dog or having an animal at large. The next line that says 250 isn't actually a second occurrence. It's that it's going to be delivered to the pound, but the dog's not going to stay overnight. And the reason that's 250 is because as soon we have to travel to the pound in Collingwood, and then the pound starts charging us as soon as we drop it off. The third line is 250 plus boarding fee, because that's when it has to stay overnight. I think slightly further down, sorry, my computer's just turning back on again because the battery died. Further down, yeah, it's a subsequent occurrence, same day within office hours, 300. And that's really meant to be the penalty if you've got that and you've just come to our office, but you've let it happen more than once. So you should have to pay a pretty significant fine the second time. And then after that, same again, it goes to travel to Collingwood and the Humane Society fees and so on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So then, that was my mistake, not reading it properly. So then $300 in same dog, same day business hours. Can we look at reducing that one? I think that, to me, that seems a bit much. And maybe that's where we just trim it by $50 and put 50 on the first time. We still get our money.
Absolutely possible.
Yeah. When would someone like a councillor do that?
When the bylaw comes forward in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Worship. I wanted to ask about Schedule R, that is the Blue Dolphin Swimming Pool. And I see all the fees have been removed because we're going to be working with the Y again. But I'm just wondering if we have any sense at this time if the Y's fees will be similar to what they were last year, or do we have any influence in that discussion at all?
No, I think it's the simple answer, isn't it? Both parts of that question, like we don't know what it'll be, but we also won't get to make the choice. That's part of the deal, is that they'll set their fees.
Questions? Okay. Are you ready to move out of committee of the whole? Need a motion for that. Moved by Councillor Forder, seconded by Councillor Greenfield. All in favor? And I think we are probably ready to adjourn. That is the case. So I'll just Thank you.